So we do have some breaking news NBA wise. Um, to start this pod off, I figured it'd be a nice little icebreaker to get into this.
Cam Smith.
The NBA just reported its first in-season tournament Final Four to be December 7th and 9th in Vegas. So the NBA team doesn't have a team in Vegas, but 4 squads will be playing during these upcoming campaign as part of a new in-season tournament. ESPN Woj reports Wednesday that the in-season tournament's Final Four will take place December 7th and 9th in Vegas. Statistics accumulated during every game of the tournament will be counted toward the regular season, except for the championship game.
Oh,
That's all we have. So we don't know how long the tournament is, how many teams will be included. We just, for whatever reason, we see.
I know a little bit more on this if this is new for you.
Yeah.
So basically, every game regular season, there's going to be a separate point structure. I don't know if it's going to be based on just win-loss or also point differential. There will be an equation for teams to gather points. The top 4 teams, I believe, make it to the tournament. And then it's like a semifinal, and they will play again. And even those semifinal matchups will count also towards the regular season. This mid-season finale championship game will be essentially an 8 game for these 2 teams. So it'll be 1 extra game. But the winning team, everyone on the roster wins $100,000. So that's the incentive to get players to like play earlier in the season when it's considered to not matter, as an incentive to try and win this mid-season tournament. It's another effort they're trying to make to get players to not sit out. They've done this mid-season tournament, and they've also done the commissioner tried to describe it as like soccer, how have an FA Cup tournament during the regular season, but the games will count towards both structures. So it is something new, but the same way that they said you can't win awards if you don't play this amount of games, they're also doing this to try and incentivize, but the winning team, like everyone on the roster, like they said your top 2 or 3 guys, this isn't going to mean a whole bunch, but like
guys that make 50 million, they make 600,000 a game.
Yeah, and it's like but the players who are like 7th through on the roster will benefit. And I'm just sitting in my chair like, yeah, the guys rostered 7 through 15 aren't the ones sitting out games. Like, what are we even talking about? So, but 100K ain't nothing to snap at. But the NBA is trying to say, hey, we're trying. But if the regular season games count towards this in-season tournament, isn't it just going to be the good teams anyway that are going to be in it again? Like, what are we talking about?
There's got to be a better incentivize than $100,000. Like, do you lock my seeding into the top 5 for the season, no matter what, as long as I have a record that would finish in the playoffs, I'm guaranteed? Or do I get to pick my opponent in the first round? If I don't know, something. I need something rather than, well, here's $100,000. LeBron James wipes his ass with $100,000. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean that in the most realistic way. $100,000 doesn't mean anything to LeBron James.
Someone could steal $100,000 from him right now, and he wouldn't notice it in his bank account.
His accountant probably makes $100,000 errors per year. Seriously. But
LeBron James' total bank account cashed out in pennies. How much do you think it weighs?
That is a wild stat. Let's do this real quick.
No, we don't.
1 billion in pennies. 1 billion pennies in $1 billion.
Hey,
or 100 billion.
Hey, yeah. Look up the weight of a penny.
I am. That's what I'm doing. Penny weight. So it's it's 2.5 grams. Hang on.
In pounds.
Yeah. Penny weight in pounds. Here we go here. So you need damn near, 50 pennies? No, still
reach a pound?
100. No, we're still not there. 300. Okay. Roughly 300-ish pennies make a pound.
All right. So this math might not work out, but I took 1 billion and I multiplied it by 100 because there's 100 pennies in every dollar.
Yeah.
So that's $100 billion. Or 100 billion is the unit. I'm going to divide that by 300 because 300 pennies make up 1 pound. So it would weigh 303,333. It's a lot of threes repeating, but
it's a lot of weight.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, my man could bring down a building with pennies.
Oh, gosh.
Welcome to Real Talk, everybody. Where we talk sports.
Oh, gosh. Well, we decided we wanted to give you guys a shit ton of content this week. And normally we've done something similar to this on the back half of our division breakdowns. We wanted to give this a little different feel this time. Normally, Brad and I and Dan in the past has joined in too. We've done what's called a QB draft, where we're ranking our QBs based off of a draft style. So whoever Brad thinks is number 1, I have to deal with that. Whoever I think's number 2, he has to deal with that, so on and so forth, all the way. This year, we're going to do something a little different. One thing that Brad and I have decided, we just enjoy making predictions, and we're going to make our list based off of where we feel after this season these players end up. And I will have a list and Brad will have a list, but we will go back and forth. Sound about right, Brad?
Yeah. We're just basically saying, this year, this is where we think the quarterbacks, what kind of seasons where they can aspire to. You guys will get it as we go. It's just another way to talk about the fantastic amount of great play we have in the NFL. It's just another way to talk about it.
And how they're all in the AFC, but that's saved for another day. All right. Who's going first? We never talked about this.
Well, I don't think it'll matter, but
it may.
I'll go first. I have Patrick Mahomes. I think it's his throne till someone takes him off of it. And we could talk about receivers, but it's him and Travis Kelce, Andy Reid. They rule the world. Kelce's unguardable. They take everybody's garbage and they say, if you can run faster than 4.35, we'll take you, and they make it all work. Sometimes it seems like they're cruising maybe early in games. That's why scores are closer a little bit. But the Chiefs, the defenses that they've had have had really no right to have the postseason success they're having. The amount of comebacks, the amount of we need it moments, the amount of legend that he is building. It is Patrick Mahomes until someone takes it from him, and it's going to take a lot. I one.
Completely agree. The 2 Super Bowls obviously are the deciding factor here for me. I really thought about this, and I tried to be unbiased because I think I've tried to dethrone Patrick Mahomes pretty much since he's come in the league. What would it take for him to not be number 1 after this year? And for me, it would take for my number 2 guy, which I'll release in a second, to win the Super Bowl, and for Patrick Mahomes to miss the playoffs playing the whole season and playing bad. He could miss the playoffs, play well, and I still think I'd have him 1. If he makes the playoffs at all, he's still number 1. It would have to be bad quarterback play while they're missing the playoffs, and my number 2, who I will reveal right now, 2 straight AFC title games, a Super Bowl appearance. In my opinion, he's the best quarterback from just simply the pocket, doesn't do a ton of anything else. It's Joe Burrow. He seems like he's the next Tom Brady-esque guy where it's not always the talent. It's really just like the cockiness / confidence / like work ethic. It helps that he's got kick-ass receivers. I got Joe Burrow number 2. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I'd like to push back. And another reason we did this list from 1 to 15 or 1 to 16 is to build suspense on who we left off and where we're going to have controversy, if you will. But it's not in the first 2. I mean, Joe Burrow's that guy in a where you like to have the guy that just runs around and, can make all these weird arm angle throws. Joe Burrow looks at your defense, knows what you're doing, and then punishes you early, often throughout games. And his top end speed in the NFL in a straight line has clocked at 21 miles per hour. So Joe Burrow, when given a lane, can get yards. He does it all. It is the swagger. It is the it's a lot of off field, but on the field, Joe Burrow is a top quarterback. And if you don't agree at 2, you can't have him outside the top 3, I don't think, after what he's done the last 2 seasons. Super Bowl appearance, back-to-back AFC championship games. It is Joe Burrow. But we're talking about, maybe what people have done, what they can do, and I am going to really throw a wrench in this whole thing right here. This might get a shock out of some of you listening, but based on what they're going to do this season and the amount of talent that this guy has now that he hasn't really had in the past, I like Lamar Jackson to be here at number 3. Lamar Jackson's a former MVP. I think when the season's done, he may be my pick for Offensive Player of the Year and maybe MVP. He lost all of his running backs last year. He has a good O-line. He gets wide receiver help. He has Mark Andrews. They draft Zay Flowers. They have Odell Beckham Jr. They have Rashad Bateman. They have Mark Andrews, a running game. And John Harbaugh is always going to make the defense play. They play a third-place schedule based on where they were last year. Or no, they were second. So they play a second-place schedule, but still this is a wrench in there, but it also has Lamar going up. But I also think a guy a lot of you expected to hear, Josh Allen, I think regresses a little bit this year. And that is my third pick. I like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, coming in number 3 for me, I'm not going to tell you where I have Lamar Jackson, but it's not him. It's the Madden cover boy. It's the guy that always seems to get the preseason hype, but unfortunately hasn't always presented the results. I would argue that his offensive line is interesting. His running game's been bad. Wide receivers have been bad to good to interesting. He's one of the only guys in this on this whole list that has a defensive head coach. I think Josh Allen is just a superb talent. I will say this. I don't want to get too much of a tangent because we could debate Josh Allen for a long time. I just listened to his episode, brand new, Bussin' with the Boys, Taylor Lewan, Will Compton, big fan of their show. I'll plug their pod anytime. They had Josh Allen on. Josh Allen said yeah.
Sorry.
Josh Allen said a lot of things that were quarterback red flags. Colin Cowherd has always said quarterbacks wearing a backwards hat's a red flag to him. Josh Allen said so many things that were a red flag that I'm like, why would he say that? Is that serious? Like, there were a lot of things. And I don't know. I just still think as far as talent, arm strength, body, Josh Allen feels like number 3 to me.
You want to go to 4? You can take 4.
You want me to take 4?
Yeah, sure.
I feel great about this one and has an argument for number 3. I've kind of given you a small note. Patrick Mahomes, the 2 Super Bowls, Joe Burrow, the 2 straight AFC title games, Josh Allen, Madden cover, preseason hype. This guy, this feels like the headline. The young king. Trevor Lawrence, man, the prince that was promised, as Nick Wright calls him. Trevor Lawrence is finally starting to turn into the guy that we thought he was. We know who we thought he was, who we thought they were. Yeah, this feels like a massive Jaguars season. Very interested and excited to talk about that division. Jaguars, I think, are being heavily favored to get the number 1 seed just for who they play and things like that. Trevor Lawrence is, this is a college national champion, never lost a game in a regular season game in high school or college, came in the NFL, had Urban Meyer. You thought that would have been good. It didn't work out. He's had a couple of head coaches. Doug Peterson's his head coach. He will be for several years. This team has wide receiver weapons. Excited for Ridley. I could talk forever on Trevor Lawrence. I got him at 4. I hope you do too.
I think Trevor Lawrence is fantastic. We will have to wait a little bit on Trevor Lawrence for me here. We have talked a little bit about accolades with Mahomes and Burrow, Lamar having a former MVP for me, and you got to have some things with that. And I also think in terms of recency and his ability to climb the ladder, I think that this team is virtually a lock to make it at least to the Final Four again. So I will have Jalen Hurts at number 4. Jalen Hurts can run. He can throw. In terms of the red flag stuff, he has 0 of that. He was, in terms of a leader and player at Alabama, at Oklahoma, and now at Philadelphia, he's played tremendously. He has 2 really good receivers. I believe potentially a top 5 tight end, great O-line. Team in an NFC he's going to get the accolades again. I think they make it to another NFC championship game, and I think Jalen Hurts puts himself in there and also having 3 AFC quarterbacks as the first 3. I feel like some of those guys are going to hurt the other guys in this argument in terms of like, they're going to be stepping on each other, which is going to kind of unfairly hurt the other one in this season. So I have Hurts at 4. I talked enough about the Eagles on this podcast the last 18 months, so you guys all know how I feel about Jalen Hurts. At number 5, I couldn't have him fall any further. I'm going to put Josh Allen here at number 5 because talent alone. But it's just when I look at it from a whole, I've already spoiled this. I do not believe that the Bills will make the playoffs. That hurts him. There is to some degree something about the Madden curse that, we'll see what happens there. But I also don't like all the turmoil. Stephon Diggs. He still has no run game to help him out. His O-line is subpar. Josh Poyard tried to leave, ended up coming back. Tre'Davious White's been injured at corner. Von Miller's interested in being a GM, not just an edge rusher. They lost their best middle linebacker in Tremaine Edmonds. I just think there's a lot shaky about the Bills, and I don't want to say it's unjust because Josh Allen does some fantastic things and he's really likable, but like this team hasn't made it to a Super Bowl, and I think they made it to one AFC championship game. Like they had a season, Josh Allen popped off, and guess what? Brian Daboll left. That offense looked like it changed last year. Now it's going to be 2 years removed, and they're having kind of a power struggle. They lost their defensive coordinator. They extend the head coach, but is Sean McDermott him, or did the Bills just strike lightning in a bottle and they weren't able to take it all the way? Are we going to look back in 5 years and say a coin flip really derailed this Bills team? But to keep it back on the quarterback, Josh Allen is simply too talented and has too many highlight plays to not have him in the top 5. So I am going to have Josh Allen at number 5.
Yeah, 5 for me has not been said yet by either of us.
Mm-hmm.
New name, Justin Herbert. So my note for him, big moments, top AFC quarterback, unfortunately 4 better. He is a top 5 quarterback in this league, but unfortunately there's 4 quarterbacks better and they're all in his conference. It feels, no pun intended, because he's a Charger, it feels very Phillip Rivers. Though I think Justin's way more talented than Phillip Rivers. I want to point that out. I think this is a big year for Justin Herbert. I do like where this team kind of moved in the offensive direction. And I just think that Justin can really take a step forward. I think that he has the ability to be the first guy to beat Patrick Mahomes in a road game. Pat's undefeated in road divisional games, which is kind of a crazy stat. Herbert can be the first guy to do that. I'll keep it moving here with number 6. This was hard to kind of drop him to 6, especially after the season he just had, though I do think there are limitations that maybe Brad doesn't see sometimes, but Jalen Hurts at 6. Just got his big deal, just coming off a Super Bowl appearance. I mean, the sky's the limit. Unfortunately, it's just common sense to assume the Eagles will regress at least a little bit. He'll be great, and I think Jalen Hurts is a top 6 quarterback in this NFL.
Yeah, I think our lists are going to be pretty similar. I knew the Lamar thing would throw a wrecking ball in there. I'm putting a lot of stake on Lamar this season. But my number 6, it is Trevor Lawrence. So it's kind of Jalen Hurts has moved him out. But for all the things you said, Trevor Lawrence is fantastic. I think he's going to play in a division that he's going to be able to maneuver pretty easily. Against AFC top competition, he plays his scheduling. We'll get to the Jaguars when we do, but his scheduling's worked out really well. He plays 4 elite quarterbacks, and they're all at least 3 weeks spaced out from each other. So the Jaguars have a real shot to do some really good things. They add Calvin Ridley to Christian Kirk and, the running back, ET. They got Evan Ingram. I just think that year 2 under Doug Peterson, who's quietly been a fantastic coach in the NFL, he got his quarterback, or he got his coach and Trevor Lawrence is in store for some big stuff. The prince that was promised. I'm really big on Herbert. I really like that you had him where you had him because I really wanted to, but I went a different route. At number 7, I think he the full season, and this team is going to have a tremendous record. I think it's going to be Tua. I think Tua is going to have elite numbers. I have the Dolphins. I think they're going to win double-digit games, no problem. This is another one where it's it's going to be kind of controversial. Again, that's why I talked about we love doing predictions because having 7 for Tua the past 2 years, there's no shot he should be here. But Mike McDaniel, year 2 of this offense, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, their defense is going to be tremendous. I really like Tua here. And again, we cannot wait to break down these AFC divisions because, I only have one NFC quarterback so far, so I don't want to spoil too much on how I feel about the whole team.
Oh, no, you only do have one. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Jalen.
Who did you have?
But it's
who did you have? So Josh Allen 5. Who'd you have 6?
Trevor Lawrence.
That's right, and then Herbert.
And then Tua at 7. And then I will let you have the floor. Actually, I'll just take it real quick. I'll go all the way to 8.
No, you had Tua at 8 because you got Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jalen, Josh,
Lawrence,
Trevor, Tua. Herbert.
No, I didn't have Herbert yet. I was just complimenting you on how.
Oh, you left Herbert. Oh, jeez, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, and that's that. So I had 2 at 7, but that's why I just said real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and go to 8 because at 8 I do have Herbert.
Okay.
Herbert cannot be lower than 8. And again, it's not strictly off the quarterback himself. I'm also putting a precedent on where I kind of have these teams finishing in my own mind. And for me on this list, let's say I have a Herbert as the 8th best quarterback. That puts him as the 7th best quarterback in his own conference. That's absolutely bonkers for the AFC. I think we all know how loaded it is, but them getting Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, I think is huge. Then they draft the guy out of TCU, Quentin Johnston. Is that his name?
Yep.
Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Staley comes back. This offense is ready to go. Firefights. And Josh Allen is must-watch or Justin Herbert is must-watch TV. And it's crazy that I have him at 8 because part of me wanted to be ballsy, but I couldn't. But I think Herbert has the potential in the next year or two to be looked at as better than Josh Allen because I just don't think his team has reached the heights. But you also can't do what you did in the postseason last year against the Jaguars. And me just stick my see more from Justin Herbert, but he's number 8. Nothing to bat an eye at. Top 25% of starting QBs in the league.
I'll go 7, 8, 9 here. So 7 is where he's back. Lamar Jackson comes in at number 7. I feel like this is a great spot for him. I see what you did putting him at 3. I appreciate you putting him at 3. I can't do that. I see why. He's there. He's with these guys. Before we even went on air, we were kind of talking like, man, there's just kind of like 5, 6, maybe 7 guys. That's where I kind of group in Lamar Jackson. He's with these guys more than he's with the guys underneath them. In my opinion, the elite category stops right here. It is no longer elite. There's good football players coming up. But
Lamar ends it or this next guy does?
Lamar ends it. Okay. Lamar ends it for me. This is where it's at. He's back. Ravens are back. He got paid. We're good to go. But this is the elite. And now we're in the good. Number 8, a guy I've always been higher on. You're always lower on. About this much of America likes him, and the rest of the people think he's terrible. I think Dak Prescott continues to move up this board, and I'm sorry, but he's won very.
This will be our biggest number difference, I think.
I don't know. I don't know. Unless he's not in your top 16 at all, then you'll be shocked by the other one.
Tua? You don't have Tua. You don't have Tua. You don't have
Dak
Tua.
Dak Prescott.
Keep going.
Let me just say this real quick. Dak Prescott is a billion times better than Tua. Not close.
Bro,
Not close.
you're right. It's not. Tua would slaughter Dak. Tua's twice the quarterback.
No.
That'll be your next Facebook. Hey, settle this. Tua or Dak. I bet you that boy's split.
Here's the problem though.
Yeah,
Dak is the most hated quarterback, arguably. Now that Brady's gone, probably the most hated quarterback. He's top 3. Naturally, because of who he plays for, he's top 3 most hated quarterback in the league. Aaron
I feel
Rodgers.
like Dak's one of the only reasons people can kind of like maybe even potentially like the Cowboys is because of Dak. Like I feel I shit on Dak as like how good he is, I feel. But I love Dak as a person. Like leader of men, like the guy. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. But sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there.
And Tua is probably the most injured quarterback in the entire league.
Fair.
So it's literally it is 2 spectrums that are just it's weird. But I do have Dak 8, and my bullet point is finally, just a big season out of him where you're like, wow, this is Dak. Zeke's gone. Okay. They got a defense. Okay. This team's going to have to heavily be weighed on Dak's shoulders. He's going to have to make the decisions. This is a Dak season. I think this is big time. He's 8. And then me rounding it out with 9. And I struggled to put this guy here because I absolutely despise his soul. Aaron Rodgers. He's only honestly this late because he's old. And I mean, call a spade a spade. He ain't Tom Brady. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has gotten better with age. I don't expect a ton from this Jet team, but this is still Aaron Rodgers at the end of the day. This is still Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying he's MVP because he ain't. Clearly, I don't have him in the top 8. I have him 9th. But this is still 30 touchdowns and probably 8 picks on 4,200 yards, 70%. Basically what I just told you Geno Smith was. So I like Aaron here at 9. Take it away.
Yeah, again, I'm projecting a little more, but his team had absolutely no defense. He led the league with only 66 drives that didn't end in a field goal or a touchdown, and the team has done nothing but improve. They will win their division, spoiler. Jared Goff will enter the top 10. Jared Goff has played and made it to a Super Bowl. Jared Goff throws for over 4,000 yards. Jared Goff will light up the stat sheet again. The team, I think Jared Goff last year entered top 14, top 13 again, and I think he will enter the top 10 here. Jared Goff, I know a lot of local fans who are Lions fans will love to hear that. A lot of people say, Brad, you're outside of your mind. There's still other guys here and there. But again, I think the Lions just missed the playoffs. I think this year they make the playoffs, potentially win a game. In an NFC where we said there's not a whole lot of great quarterbacks, we haven't mentioned one inside of his division. And Jeff together, we've only mentioned 2 NFC quarterbacks, period. I think there is a definitive argument that Jared Goff is the 3rd best quarterback in the NFC. I think he has that argument, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. He's up in there. So I like Jared Goff here at the number 9 spot. And if I go to number 10, I will just keep it short, piggyback off everything Jeff said. Aaron Rodgers. For the same reason, and same bad O-line, tough division, first year in the system, young defensive head coach, maybe mistakes are made. And Aaron Rodgers, he can throw a locker room the wrong way. We'll see if it works out. We'll see what happens when they hit turmoil. But this Jets front office, still the Jets. I don't know how much he's going to turn around, but you got to keep him in the top 10.
Number 10. This quarterback is also better than Tua. He leads a team better than Tua. He does exactly what Tua does. Every time he goes out there, he wins. He takes care of the ball, never turns it over. His team believes in him, except he stays healthy. Brock Purdy after this year will be widely considered a top 10 quarterback. Absolute major growth coming this season. My little remark is rise up. I think we'll just be seeing Brock Purdy in a whole new light. I don't envision him passing any of the guys that I have up here. I think 10 is almost his ceiling, so I'm being very high here. I could see him in the 10 to 15 range because nobody's got him in the top 15 today. Okay. But I do think he's easily in this range. I may be a little high at number 10. But number 11, his division foe, Matthew Stafford. Bounce back year as long as he can stay healthy. I think this is a good spot for him. Matthew Stafford is a Super Bowl winning quarterback just literally 2 seasons ago. 11 has to be the spot for Stafford here.
Yeah, so just a quick update. We agreed on 1 and 2. This is why this is fun. We agreed on 1 and 2. Everything's been different. Number 11, a man who we looked at as could carry anybody and was the only reason for a franchise, got traded to an absolutely horrible situation with a man named Nathaniel Hackett. And now he has Sean Payton. The return of Russell Wilson. He could be higher than 11. I think he has good weapons. They bolstered the O-line. They have a good running back in Javonte Williams. They have a good defense in Mile High. Plays in a loaded division, tough conference. But I think we have totally written off Russ. Russ comes back in the fold. Russ matters. Can't wait to talk some Broncos and watch some Broncos. Danger Russ at number 11.
Am I taking over here?
Hey, go for it. Number 12.
Russell Wilson, baby. Russell Wilson enters the chat. Yeah, everything you just said. This is a bounce back season. This was quite possibly the worst coach team in football last year. That was very talented with an elite defense. Russell Wilson probably needed to get put in his spot for a minute. You know, sometimes people get a little egotistical, especially if they think they're better than the coach, which rightfully so. Russ thought he was. This team started to win once Nathaniel Hackett was out of there. They're getting a Super Bowl winning head coach that has a ton of street cred in this league. Russell Wilson at 12 feels like the play.
Yeah, I like that a lot. This number 12, Jeff had a big-time riser there at number 10. And I'm looking at a team that has a tremendous defense, Hall of Fame coach, and maybe weak lot to prove. And that's why Kenny Pickett will come in at number 12 here. With the Pittsburgh Steelers, full health, dual-headed running back, backfield, one can catch. Top 10 tight end, maybe close, definitely closer to 10, but top 10 tight end. Wide receiver room with Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Allen Robinson. Offensive line continues to get work, first-round draft picks, and we get Pro Bowl right guard from the Philadelphia Eagles, Samalu, to go with our right tackle, 6th in Pro Football Focus last year. Kenny Pickett finished the year 7-2. You can attribute that to T.J. Watt. You can attribute that to a lot of things, but he led 2 comeback drives in the fourth quarter against divisional foes, led the league at 7-2. And on quarterbacks with a minimum of 40 tight window throws, he finished with the second best completion percentage among those throws. Kenny Pickett, all I know is his junior year in college, senior year in college, rookie year in the NFL, his stock has only gone up. He's continued to get better. Year 2, we like to attribute quarterbacks to a second-year leap. He has the same offensive coordinator. You can say if he's bad or good. A lot of people don't like him, but it's the second year in the same system that's helpful. I think they've done nothing but improve. Kenny Pickett enters the top 16. He jumps a few quarterbacks that maybe will make people say, come on, Brad. But I'm a homer. You know it. I know it. Kenny Pickett finishes 12.
13, this quarterback has the best stats of anybody that doesn't win football games on a playoff game basis. It's Kirk Cousins. I feel good with him at 13. This is a spot where I don't even think winning a massive playoff game would elevate him. This is just kind of where he's viewed. He'd have to win a Super Bowl to really climb some spots. If Kirk Cousins won a Super Bowl or a playoff game and threw 3 touchdowns, no picks, and moved on to the next round, I wouldn't raise him anymore next year. I mean, this is who he is. He's 70% completion, 4,000 yards, and 30 and 10. I mean, he's Geno Smith's best year. I mean, that's what Kirk Cousins is all the time. It's kind of what I've already said Mac Jones' ceiling is as Kirk Cousins. So I think the world of Kirk Cousins. He's 1 p.m. Kirk. Unfortunately, primetime and playoff games have eluded him. But that doesn't mean you should be farther than 13th. I think that's where it's a good spot for him.
Okay. You can keep going because I'm going to lump 13, 14, 15, all kind of.
Okay. I'll go and you just tell me when to stop. So number 14. Truthfully, I don't know why I put him this far down. He probably has the biggest rise of any quarterback pending. But also, I don't think he can fall lower than 16. I think he's literally right in this category right now, but could easily be 3 tomorrow. I mean, we've seen it. It's been a long time. It's Deshaun Watson. He can only go up on this chart. I truly believe that. Do I think the Browns have the roster to do it? Kind of. But you'd have to see a massive playoff win in Cleveland for me to really elevate him. I will say this. If he throws for 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, has a couple on the ground, and is just a dominant offensive player, but the Browns, for whatever reason, can't get past their own way, I might raise him a little bit. But right now, I think Watson at 14 feels like a good spot. Keep going or stop?
You can go to 15.
Number 15. It's probably my most digged on quarterback in the entire league. But he finally has wide receivers. And I'm starting to come around on him. Justin Fields at 15. I think Justin Fields is arguably the number one fantasy quarterback, if that matters to you guys. What he did from the time that he stepped on the field in Gillette Stadium on Monday Night Football, after that, he was spectacular. They were dog shit until they went into Gillette Stadium in Foxborough and just kicked the shit out of the Patriots. But from then on, he was an absolute dog. I think he was the number one fantasy quarterback from that point on for the season, if I'm not mistaken, and just really started to show spark. And this team traded the number one overall pick, got DJ Moore, brought in another wide receiver, just drafted some talent around him. You just start to feel really good about what Justin Fields has. I like him at 15.
Okay, I'll go ahead and take over. I will have a comment on Fields because he did not make my top 16 because I am not going to predict he will be there. But I think like all the way up to like 11 and 10, like Fields could get there this year. DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
Like I really like Fields too. I'm a fan. 13, 14, and 15, I think you could put in any order. And I think these guys cannot be far away from each other. I put them down just in any order, but it's Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, and Dak Prescott. I do think that Jeff's love for Dak, I don't know where it comes from. I don't think anyone else would put him that high, but I'm glad you're standing on the table for your guy. But Derek Carr, I believe, has always numbers, but he's never had a defense close to this one. The home field advantage is going to be tremendous. Not saying it wasn't in Oakland or Las Vegas, but he's going to have weapons on the outside. He's going to have a running game, an O-line. He's going to produce the numbers. He's still going to be Derek Carr. But there's going to be 3 or 4 games that he would have lost with the Raiders that he's going to win with the New Orleans Saints. And the record is going to start to match his production. And I believe we're not going to be able to keep him out of the top 16. Kirk Cousins and Dak. I think I've kind of said this a few years, but you alluded to Kirk not winning big games and whatnot, and it's like if you look at the career numbers, I think Colin Cowherd did it on a podcast a day or two ago. Completion percentage, average yards per season, and one other stat, QBR maybe. But Dak and Kirk, like, it's the same. Like, they're just the same guy. And it's like both of them should have more more production in the playoffs than they do, but they don't. They sometimes lose odd games with like bad play, but then they can show up and throw for 450 yards and 4 touchdowns, and it's like that guy's unstoppable today. Two different styles of players, two totally different, where they're from, where they played, where they currently play, how they go about what they do. But I believe no matter where you have Kirk or Dak, I believe the other one needs to be touching them on the ranking. I just think they're too similar. And extending to my 16th, it was a toss-up for me between Geno Smith and Deshaun Watson. But like you said, it is so crazy. 4 years ago, which he's only like 28 now. Deshaun Watson would have been like 3 on this list. Like 3 on this list. So it is crazy to see him that low. And Geno, if he can, throw away the last 7 games of last year and go back to what they were doing with the new weapons he has, I believe Geno could, sign in that 3-year deal. We could start the Seahawks as like serious playoff contenders, maybe not Super Bowl, but serious playoff contenders year in, year out with Geno Smith and Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I think 16 for me is by default, and I don't love it. And honestly, I think it's crazy that you had him at 7, but I have Tua. I think my biggest problem with Tua is there is a handful of guys that I think if you put into a spot, they would shine. Like Mac Jones, honest to God. I think if he was in Miami, he would shine. Brock Purdy, I think if he was in Miami, he would shine. Dak Prescott would shine. Matthew Stafford would shine. Kirk Cousins would shine. Justin Fields would shine. There's a lot of guys in that spot with that team that would shine. But Tua's in that spot, and he's doing great when he's on the field. He deserves to be 16th. I just think Brock Purdy does what Tua does better. That's why I kind of had we almost kind of had those guys flipped, but you didn't put Purdy in the top 16. But
well, you could say Dak and Tua. I had Dak at 15. You had Dak at 8. I had Tua at 7. You have Tua at 16.
Yeah, I almost put Jared Goff at 16, but I left Jared Goff off.
And I can tell, I don't think it's going to be an argument, but I can tell we are North Pole, South Pole on the Detroit Lions. Every time it gets brought up, there's been like this little lightning that connects between us, and it's like...
No, I think I'm excited to talk about them. I don't think you're going to be too high on them, but I know you're high on them. I just think they're middle of the road again. I think they are what they are. I think they're 9 wins, 8 or 9 wins.
I will say some honorable mentions that I left off, though. I'm just predicting injury. I know it's not right, but I'm predicting injury and downfall. I don't believe in the Rams at all, really. So I did leave Stafford off. Stafford plays at least 12 games. No way he's not top 16. He's just too talented and too good. That back, spine, neck area that I just don't like any bit of that, especially in football. And then the other one is, honest to God, I mean, I'm not just blowing smoke up because, co-hosts and that, but I think Mac Jones, you can say it's because of injury, but he played in a Pro Bowl. He was a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yeah.
He literally had, like last year, we predicted it, and then we act shocked when it happened. He had a defensive coordinator and limited weapons on trying to work with tight ends. The whole thing was a mess. He gets Bill O'Brien, Hunter Henry, and Mike Gesicki, Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, and Kendrick Bourne. That's the name, Kendrick Bourne, right?
Yep.
And the thing is Kendrick Bourne, you drop him onto a random team. Who knows? But he's played with Mac for 3 years now, I think, and he's produced good numbers and gets touchdowns. And he's a great DraftKings, like low money spend on. And then forget what it translates to. And Ramondre Stevenson was the 7th highest scoring fantasy running back last year. He had to be doing something. You've got Bill Belichick, the most knowledgeable and veteran coach out there, along with Andy Reid. A defense that they could play 7th graders and seem to stop people with the schemes that they come up with. So it's just like the Patriots are going to be improved. And I'm not saying that they're going to win the division or this or that, but like Mac Jones is going to be a night and day quarterback from what he was a year ago. Coordinators matter. That's why I have falling with Brian Daboll being gone. It's why I had Mac falling with Matt Patricia, and he's coming back up. It's why Herbert should be going up your board with Kellen Moore. Kenny Pickett keeping the same offensive coordinator. Why'd people slander Baker in the Browns? We had a different offensive coordinator every 3 years. We can't just say it matters sometimes and it doesn't other times. To get Bill O'Brien, who we worked with at Alabama, back, I think Mac Jones could definitely find his way into this top 16. I just think there's a lot of backs, and for me to have Deshaun Watson at 16, I mean, that kind of explains it. We both have some shockers in there. Goff, Pickett, you got Purdy, Justin Fields. Some people wouldn't do that, so 1 and 2 are the same. We were different on every number.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes a QB draft take 45 minutes. So hope you guys dug this. Got a twofer we recorded tonight, but they'll be dropping separate days, kind of give you an opportunity to listen to the breakdown and then give you a little bonus pod here that once you hear this, you'll be like, oh, cool. So anything else, sir?
Oh, man, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for listening. We're out. Real talk.
Real talk.
Tom Brady's forever the GOAT, though.